This is a test of the emergency broadcast system, otherwise known as YouTube. All joking aside, I decided to make this video because I felt like it was time to say something. There's just too much out there that I'm hearing, that I'm watching in the way of videos on YouTube that don't scare me, right? They're too stupid to scare me, right? It's like there is a group of people on this planet that want the world to come to an end. They're doing everything they possibly can to invent a World War III and make it happen. And it's ridiculous. First of all, I am a Christian. I do believe that Jesus Christ is my Lord and that He died for my sins, that He rose from the dead so that I might be forgiven, and that through Him I can learn how to be a human being the way God intended us to be instead of the way we have become. That said, I am not a creationist. I believe that creation and the history of the universe go hand in hand. Okay? I believe that what we see through our sciences as the epochs of the history of our world and the history of our solar system and the history of our galaxy and the history of our universe are all part of the story of creation. Okay? And if you look at the universe, the story of creation hasn't ended. Creation still goes on. It exists everywhere. Okay? But not in a way that you or I can do. Okay? We're not the creator. Okay? And the one who is the creator, I think, is a little perturbed at the notion that we would think ourselves equal to Him. Okay? That we can create like He does. At any rate, do I believe these are the last days? Yes, I do. Do I believe that this is going to be the end of all things? No, I don't. Okay? Jesus' disciples asked Him what would be the signs of the end of the age, not the end of all existence. Okay? The end of the age. What age? The age that we entered in when Jesus came and dwelt among us. Okay? The age that began at the end of the previous age. Okay? We're not supposed to be looking at it as the end of the world. We're supposed to be looking at it as the end of the time of men being free to do whatever they want to do with impunity, and entering an age where man becomes more reserved, more controlled. Whether that control comes through the efforts of someone outside of us that forces us into submission, or whether it's control because we actually go through a change where we don't feel like we used to, we don't think like we used to, we don't act like we used to. There are so many things spoken of in the modern world concerning the age of enlightenment and the age of man transcending all of the petty things that he's held on to for so long to become something more than what he was, something better than he has been. And at the same time, there is the other side of that coin. Those who insist on keeping us in the dark. Those who insist on keeping us from ever becoming better or different from what we are or what we have been. Insisting that mankind cannot change. And using as their evidence their refusal to change. It's not that mankind can't change. He won't. And because he won't, God is going to do something that is not possible within men. He's going to change us despite us, but not by coming down with a heavy hand and forcing us into submission, but through the course of time, by changing how we see things, changing how we view things, changing how we respond to things, changing how we think about things. And He has been doing this, and the evidence is all around us through the changes in our attitudes, through the things that we no longer find socially acceptable, and the other things that we are finally finding socially required. But we still have areas where people draw lines where they shouldn't. Okay? God says to let the judgment be His, and yet we are continually judging one another. God says for us to love one another the same way He loves us, to care for one another the same way He cares for us. But instead, we selfishly hoard the caring and love that God gives to us and refuse to share it with anyone else, and then wonder why things don't go the way we want them to. And when I say we, I don't mean everyone. There are those among us that do not live that way, that have chosen the other path, that have learned how to live within the realm of God's love, learned how to treat others better, to give them greater respect, to desire for them greater dignity. But those of us that do that are relative few. And this is, I guess, why most people feel like nothing's ever going to change. Because in order to believe that it could change, most people need to see that change happen in the majority of us, not the minority of us. Well, I'm here to say, stop the madness. No more trying to create World War III. No more trying to make the end times happen the way you think they should. God has the plan, and everything is going to happen according to that plan and in His time. I have been praying for many years for God to explain to me and help me understand the events of the last days, so that I can be a help to explain it to others, so that the world could be better prepared. I have come to realize that some of these things are not possible because they are not part of His will. His will is that we should be allowed to have enough rope to hang ourselves until every single effort on our part has been exhausted, and we come to the knowledge that without Him we can't do anything right. In that regard and in that light, the world remains in darkness until He decides to bring the light to us. And until then, the only light that there gets to be in the world is the light that shines from those who seek to live according to His will and to do things the way He wants us to do them, and to put Him before ourselves, and in doing so, putting others before ourselves. Are we in the last days? Yes, we are. Are the events of the prophecies of the Old and New Testament and the book of Revelation coming to pass? Yes, they are. Do we understand all the ways that it's happening? No, we don't. And that's just the way it is. So please, people, stop the madness. Start figuring out what it means to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Start figuring out what it means to love God with everything that you are and everything that you have. And I exhort all of you to learn how to understand who the Son of God is, okay? And how he relates to you, so that you may learn how to relate to him.